So you're either struggling growing your clothing brand or you want to start your own clothing brand. In this YouTube video, I'm going to be giving you guys some ideas and suggestions that a lot of successful people have used when they started their own clothing lines. I'm going to be putting you guys on some free games, so definitely watch throughout the whole video if you want to learn how to start your own clothing brand. But yeah, hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video, and let's get right into it. Alright, so a lot of you guys don't know this, but I've actually been building and developing my own clothing brand over like the past 2 years, and it's honestly a really hard process, and it takes like a lot of time and dedication, which is why I'm actually making this video for you guys to show you guys some of the strategies that you should use that are going to help you out a lot. All the ideas that I've ever had for my clothing brand are actually all written in my notes. This is because it's just better if you just take the step-by-step path instead of like just rushing everything, because then it's not going to work. Also, keep in mind that starting a clothing brand is not a cheap process. It does take a lot of money. This is because like you have to get some samples, and if they mess up the samples, you have to get more, and samples could be expensive for your brand. So for the first tip I'm going to be giving you guys is actually making and drawing out your own designs. Right after you have everything sketched out, like make sure you only have like 1 to 3 designs. Then go ahead and go on Fiverr and then send that design to somebody so then they could actually make the digital print. You also have to keep in mind that you have to be really specific when creating the design, like if you're sending it for someone to make it for you. And of course, if you can't do this yourself, that's probably going to cost you somewhere from like 10 to like 50 bucks depending on what you're like creating. For tip number 2, what you should go ahead and do is actually design your own website, and you could do this right now, or you could do this like towards the end when you already have all your clothes in. Since I barely got my pieces in, I haven't started my site, and that definitely saved me some money. So I would probably wait like after you get your clothes and then start your site. So that was tip number 2, but just make sure that the site is designed like specifically how you want it. I mean, at the end of the day, you are paying for what you're getting. For tip number 3, what I would actually do is find a good supplier before ordering in bulk. You could do this by ordering like a couple of samples. Just of course ask a bunch of questions, because some of their samples could be expensive. I know when I started getting my clothes, the samples were like around 100 bucks each. And I definitely spent like over 500 bucks just on samples. So just make sure you ask the supplier a bunch of questions. What type of clothes do they work with? What type of shirts do they have? What type of printing do they do? Just questions like that. What you should do is open up your own Google Doc and then just like put everything down, all the information that you're getting from the suppliers, because I know in bulk some suppliers charge more than others. Like for example, let's say I'm ordering 25 hoodies. One supplier is going to charge me 900, another's going to probably charge me 750, around like those prices, and you want to make sure that you're profiting from the clothes that you're selling, because if not, there's no point. So just make some calculations on the Google Doc with like the amount of hoodies that you're buying times the price, and then that's going to be like the total that you're spending. A lot of details cost a lot of money when making clothes, which is why I'm telling you guys to ask a bunch of questions to the supplier. I'm gonna go ahead and put some good suppliers up on the screen, maybe some suppliers that I've used in the past. Like I've said, just make sure you pay attention to all the little things and all the little details on your clothes. Like for example, if you're designing a hoodie, they can have different type of zippers, and they all have like a different cost or a different price. Also, if you decide to add like strings onto your hoodie, that could be like an extra add-on cost. The material that you want your hoodie made out of could be an extra cost as well. It just all depends on the manufacturer. Now moving on to tip number 4. For tip number 4, let's say you have all your clothes in already, all your like packaging is ready, your tags are on your clothes, like everything is perfectly ready and like set to ship. You want to go ahead and list your clothes up on your website, but only go ahead and list your products on your website if you have all the packaging ready, like the tags are like on your hoodies. That's if you decide to have tags, because some people don't want tags on their clothes. You have to think about like shipping labels and like little printing machine to have all those shipping labels come out of it. I'm telling you guys, it seems so simple, but it's really not. It's actually like a lot of hard work that people don't really see going on behind the scenes of like a piece of clothing. Right after you have everything ready for shipping, like all your tape, if you use tape, shipping bags, shipping labels, for step number 5 is actually promoting them and marketing your hoodies. Promoting and marketing your hoodies is probably going to be like the hardest step here, even though you probably think that you faced the hardest step of making your piece. But promoting is really hard. Now this is where social media comes in, and this is where you could go ahead and promote your stuff on TikTok, on Instagram, on YouTube. You can make a YouTube video like I'm making right now. What you could do is also pay on Instagram, which is actually really smart, because when you pay on Instagram, they sponsor a post for you and they put it all over the place. You would think that's wasting your money, but that's actually reinvesting into your own brand, because you're getting an audience of people that like your clothes. So just go ahead and promote all your stuff on all the social medias that you have. Promote it to your friends, promote your stuff at school. Just promote as much as you can, because that's what's gonna do it all at the end of the day. Now I actually do think that I put you guys onto the promotion thing on Instagram, because when you promote on Instagram, you can choose for how many days you want your post to be up, how many likes you want on your post. But you obviously have to pay a certain amount. But I think it's a really smart thing to do, because a lot of small clothing brands are doing it, and I'll put like a bunch of images up on the screen of small clothing brands doing it, and it's honestly working for them. Half of these brands I followed and known since they had like 1,000 followers, and then I just saw all their posts being sponsored and promoted, and then that's when they took off with like over 100k sales. You don't gotta believe me, you could go ahead and try something else, but I think it's something that's actually helpful. Now for tip number 7 or step number 7, whatever you guys want to call it, actually print out a QR code and just go posting it all over the place. Leave it at school if you go to school, at your college or on campus. Just leave it all over the place, promoting, like I said, best thing to do for yourself. Maybe if you have a friend like me that's into clothing and you tell him about your clothes, he'll probably support you and buy your clothes. But just make sure you have like a reasonable price, because if you make like a shitty ass piece of clothing, like a shitty ass hoodie, and then you like want to sell it for $100, nobody's gonna buy it. Now that's something that you also got to think about. You got to think about pricing, because nobody's gonna buy like a shitty piece of clothing or like a shitty hoodie, let's say, for $100 if it's like terrible quality. You got to think about the people that you're surrounded with. Do those people around you buy expensive stuff, and could they afford like the clothes that you're going to be selling? Lastly, after you get a couple of orders, after everything's going pretty well for you for like starting off as a clothing brand owner, definitely start a Google Sheet and then just write everybody's names, emails, prices, profit made off of that person, how many pieces they bought, quantity. And the reason why I think this is a smart thing to do is because when you already have all the information, how much they spent, then you could go ahead and like email them. If you have like an email thing on your website, you go ahead and get that email, and then just send them out emails, notifications when you have your next drop, maybe some deals that your site has. And most of the time websites are going to do that. They're going to put like 50% off an item that isn't actually on sale. They're going to have like the original price. You're probably going to think you're actually saving money, but you're actually not. It's just a smart like marketing strategy that those websites, those big brands have. Now with all these steps and tips that I actually gave you guys, go ahead and start your own clothing brand. I know it's going to be like a little difficult. You're going to struggle. There's days when you're going to be like really upset about how something came out, how a print came out, a hoodie, a shirt, but just go ahead and try different things. So I would just start a clothing brand if you have that extra money that you don't care about, because then it's not like you're losing anything. But yeah guys, those are some tips and strategies that a lot of clothing brand owners actually use. A lot of successful clothing brand owners, for example Quan, he's really successful, and those are some strategies that he used himself. Also, if you guys know who Jalen Harris is, Jalen Harris has definitely used some of these strategies that I told you guys about in this video. But don't be scared to start your own clothing brand. Just keep in mind that it takes a lot of time. It's not just gonna happen overnight where you just blow up. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys, but you guys have a good night, day whenever you're watching. Peace.